Welcome to this month's Member to Member Connection. I'm ASHRAE President Mick Schwedler, and it's my honor to feature 4 of our present and future leaders. They were part of two programs, one called Leadership U, where society pays for 4 different people to shadow our vice presidents at the winter conference. And the other is called the LEADRs program, and that is put on by the regions. And they shadow the directors and regional chairs for their particular regions. So I'm going to introduce the people as we ask the first question. And the first one's going to come to Emmy Sherif. She's with the Cairo chapter, and she shadowed Sarah Maston as vice president. Emmy, please share the ASHRAE moment that has had the biggest impact on you and your career.
Hi, Mick. Thank you for the question. This moment was when I returned back from my first international event with ASHRAE. It was the Leadership Academy in 2019. And I went back to my chapter and we hosted an event for students and young engineers. And I started talking about what I have learned in the Leadership Academy. And then I received a very nice feedback from everyone. And there was a good engagement, and we received a good number of new members to ASHRAE, and it went so successful. So this had a very high impact on me.
Thanks so much for sharing, Emmy. Next is going to be Niss Feiner. He is also Leadership U. He's from the Toronto chapter. He shadowed Director at Large Drew Crowley. Niss, will you share one of your first moment?
Sure. Thank you, Mick, for the question, and hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. For me, it would also be back when I did a Leadership Academy weekend down at HQ. And there were people from all over the world that came just for 24 hours of training. And it was the connection that I received with people from these other countries and the friendship I made. And what struck out me the most was that given our individual backgrounds in geopolitics, we might otherwise not be acquaintances and not be friends. But here we were working with a common goal and a common theme in mind. And all that potential pettiness that would come with that was put aside, and we were able to enjoy each other's company for that purpose and ASHRAE's mission.
Thanks so much. The next one is Josh Vasudevan. He's with the UK Midlands chapter. He's part of the LEADRs program, and he shadowed the director and regional chair from Region 14, Andres Sepulveda. Josh, how about your moment?
So thank you, Mike, for the question. So I participated in the ASHRAE Student Design Competition in 2019, and we won the competition. And I was selected to attend the 2020 ASHRAE Winter Conference in Orlando. So that was the moment, where I met a lot of people in ASHRAE. I mean, I didn't think that ASHRAE was such a huge society. That's the first time I saw a lot of volunteers, who are volunteering for ASHRAE to achieve the same goals. And how big ASHRAE is as a society. And also I met a lot of young engineers who were there, because I haven't seen so many young engineers in the same place. So these are the main things that made a big impact in me to continue volunteering for ASHRAE and in my chapter and in the region, and also at the society level.
Thanks so much, Josh. And the final is a local favorite. She's also in the lacrosse area chapter. That's Michelle Hull. She shadowed Rick Herman's, the DRC from Region 6. Michelle?
Thanks, Mick. So the biggest impact on me was actually listening to your presidential address on Feed the Roots. So while most of the society themes were surrounded around new technology advances and the way that the industry was heading, which I really enjoyed, that had me in the perspective that I was joining ASHRAE to do technical work, to be involved on technical committees, which was awesome. But then learning about this year's theme and listening to that presidential address really inspired me and changed my perspective on the organization from this society can help me understand technical knowledge and advance my career to this society is helping me grow as a person to help others and to change the world. And I love that I could be a part of that.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing, Michelle. Now we're going to move on. Niss, the next one's coming to you first. As you shadowed Drew, what surprised you during the winter conference?
That's an interesting question. I've been to conferences before, but never really in this kind of context, in seeing the leadership, being involved in that. And I think one thing that kind of surprised me was how open everybody was, the ability that we had to speak and share our thoughts in XCOM or the board meeting. Now, I always knew ASHRAE was very open, and we all know that ASHRAE is welcoming, come into the TCs, come into the committees and speak. But this is the first time I've seen it practiced at this level, beyond just these little, not to diminish these little committees, but the executive committee and the board meeting. Everyone was incredibly open and wanted to hear what you had to say. And I shouldn't have been surprised because I know ASHRAE well enough, but that was a nice surprise.
Thanks so much for sharing. Josh, how about you? What surprised you?
So it was the board of director meeting that surprised me. As a person from UK, I thought, ASHRAE is a society that runs on its own in the US. But when attending the board of directors meeting, I could see that people from different countries were on the board. They were, doing a lot of things which we can't even imagine. As a young engineer, I was really surprised to see that, particularly, the president-elect and other board members who are connecting from other parts of the world, even at I think around morning 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. when the meeting ended, they were all in the meeting and they were contributing to that. So that was really surprising for me.
There's a lot of dedication to members from around the world. Thanks so much, Josh. Michelle?
What surprised me the most was how close-knit everyone was. While I know that there's a lot of networking opportunities in ASHRAE and at conferences, I didn't realize that everyone knew each other on a personal level. Everyone would be asking about, how are the kids? How is your wife? Are you still living here? Are you still in this position? And it was wonderful to see networking become friendships and to hear how people helped each other with hurdles in the industry or with ASHRAE in general.
Thank you so much. Amy, what surprised you?
Well, what surprised me the most is the ability to engage and to do another job. It's a really hard job, and to have all these responsibilities beside your own job and your social life and your other activities, and being able to handle all this and with a great output. And I was exposed to a lot of new things, so it was a great experience for me, and it was full of good new moments and surprises.
This is so fantastic to have perspectives from people in different locations around the world, particularly since we've become so much of more of a global society. Okay, Josh, next one's going to come to you. It's a little bit harder, a little bit tricky. Okay, when you were with us at the meetings, we talked about ASHRAE things and we got to know each other, but when the leadership, you and leaders, people were together without the board members around, what did you talk about?
Yeah, it was both professional and general talks. I get to know a lot of people from different regions because the leaders program, there are like 14 regions and the region at large, and all the leaders from there, we just were discussing a lot of things. And even I spoke with Vinod, and we were discussing about having a combined event between the chapters of different region. And with Niss, I was discussing about the Niagara River, cities around it, about Canada, and even Chicago and the work culture. So it was an interesting talk, actually.
Fantastic. How about you, Michelle?
It was also a mix of professional and personal conversation as well. I know that a lot of us were sharing what we had learned that day when we meet up, what organizational structure information had you learned, the meaning of acronyms, because there are so many, as well as what our favorite technical sessions were, and then our jobs, our interests. I had a really long conversation about music taste with another leaders, and it was really interesting. So we definitely had a mix of both.
Thanks so much. Amy?
We spoke about our experience during the winter conference. We spoke about our jobs and what do we do in our countries. We spoke about our countries. We spoke about Vegas. We spoke about fun things to do and where to go out. We spoke about food, and we spoke about our experiences with our mentors. So we had a mix, and I have done a lot of new friends.
Fantastic. And Niss.
I would echo a lot of what was already said. There were a lot of personal and professional conversations being shared, and really learning about other people's lives and you know what's important to them, but as well as conversations about society, about how we viewed society and where it's going and our role in that, and what we would like to see you know, it changed or reinforced. So some very interesting and fun conversations were had.
Thanks so much. Now, this is going to be an off-the-cuff question. A couple of you mentioned the Leadership Academy. Is that correct? Amy, would you start with that, please? Can you tell our audience a little bit about what that is and what the program was, what you learned there?
Of course. Leadership Academy is 2 days introduction about everything in ASHRAE. You know every detail. It's very good for you to start, or even if you started and you still don't know a lot of things about ASHRAE, it's the right place. It happens in Atlanta, and it happens inside the headquarters. So you get introduced to such a great building, and you get introduced to all the past presidents and the current president, and you take a great tour to the building, and you get to know a lot of people from all over the world, because it's an international event that happens at the headquarters. And you get to learn more about the society, the chapter, and of course the region. And you take back to your chapter a lot of benefits and a lot of new things, how to do everything in ASHRAE. So it's 2 days, but it's very informative. You finish it and you feel like, yeah, I know a full picture of ASHRAE.
Thanks. And Niss, were you or Josh the other one?
I went in 2017.
Okay. How does one apply for it? Is it similar to Leadership U and Leaders, or is it different?
That I was actually approached and asked to take it by my chapter. Okay. I was involved at that time at my chapter as the photographer, and I was volunteering, I was helping out, and then some people in leadership positions came and said, hey, the board would like to send you to this training. Are you interested? And so that's how I kind of got roped in. But what that actually did, and I mentioned earlier how that really impacted my ASHRAE career, was I recognized there that the board, and therefore ASHRAE, was recognizing my investment in ASHRAE, and they were investing back in me. And that made me want to invest even more of myself. And so that was a big change, and offered some invaluable insight, as Amy said, as to how the society functions, what the society is, and what the point is, what the mission and values are. So it was an eye-opening, extraordinary experience.
Fantastic. So it's open to a lot of folks. It isn't just young engineers in ASHRAE. It's to help improve leadership skills and learn more about the society. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so we're going to move to our last question, and this is just wide open. You can take a little bit more time if you'd like. Michelle, we'll start with you. Following your experience, what type of information do you want to share with other ASHRAE members who are viewing the member-to-member connection today?
Thanks, Mick. I would love to say to get involved, even if you're afraid. There were a lot of aspects of ASHRAE that I thought I didn't know enough to join. I didn't have anything of value to add, or I didn't have experience in. And going through the leaders experience really opened my eyes that you need different perspectives in every situation, in every group that's working together. And if you have a fresh set of eyes, that's just as valuable as the person who has 40 years of experience. And that everyone will open you with welcome arms to anything that you're interested in, and just do it. Jump right in. If you're interested and there's something that you want to do, go for it, because you won't regret it.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And we're going to mix the order up just for fun. Josh, How about you? What would you like to share?
Yeah, so I would say that it's time for you guys to start volunteering for ASHRAE. As an industry professional, we use the standards of ASHRAE. We get benefited from it in all ways. But what do we give back to it? Just being a member of ASHRAE doesn't add up anything. Just start volunteering in your chapter, in your region, attend the conference, take part in the committees. We need to grow in ASHRAE, and we have to grow ASHRAE. So ASHRAE is like a family, and it's I really enjoy it a lot, and I'm sure that when other members they start volunteering, they get involved, they will also enjoy it.
Thanks so much, Josh. Will you go next, Niss, please?
Sure. I'd like to say that you'd be really surprised where leadership can come from and the capabilities you might have in yourself. It's not necessarily technical knowledge that's important. It's not experience or research or being the best at your profession. Leadership is separate from these technical skills. Yourself, Mick, you did not get to be president necessarily because you were the most, talented engineer. You got there because people wanted to follow you, because people believed in your message and you were able to influence these people. And you'd be surprised at how big of an impact one voice and one perspective can have on an organization of 55,000 people globally. So never be afraid to step up. Never be afraid to share your thoughts or your perspective. As Michelle said, those are needed. This wide variety of perspectives is incredibly important to keep this big ship even keeled. And so don't be scared. You've got it in yourself. And if you don't have it right away, ASHRAE can help you with that and can give you that and foster those skills. You need to be successful.
Thank you so much for sharing the enthusiasm and the advice for folks. Amy, you get our last word. What would you like to share with our members?
What I would like to share that make use of every person you meet at any ASHRAE event. Every new person, you learn a new thing from him or her. And always keep yourself involved, try new things in ASHRAE, and whether it's technical or non-technical, keep yourself involved and learn new things and meet a lot of new people. And this is the ASHRAE. Make it your family and your society.
I want to give personal thanks to Amy, Josh, Michelle, and Niss. It was fantastic to meet you during the winter conference in Las Vegas. You've all contributed so much to ASHRAE already, and you are some of our leaders moving forward. So thank you in advance for that. It's been a privilege to work with you. For those in our audience, the Leadership U and Leaders programs, they're just a tip of the iceberg. There's so many ways to get involved. There's so many ways to grow. So we want to have personal growth that occurs. We want to have the global impact. We see here today, we have people from the United States, Canada, the UK, and Egypt. Fantastic, a number of our different regions. And then we want to feed the roots. The roots are being fed. I think that all our Leadership U and leaders people had their roots fed, but they also helped us grow as the people that they met when we were at the winter conference. So thanks to Niss, Josh, Michelle, and Amy, and we hope to see you again next month for that month's member-to-member connection.